I think there are moments when I definitely look back on where I think, what was I, definitely what was I thinking?
Very exciting day. Coffee machine, shush, please. You, me, will be not being rude, just trying to see if my car is here. We're gonna be interviewing David Beckham. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty major, isn't it? Got an email about a month, I've not really said anything to you guys, but because I always think these things can and sometimes do fall through, and I don't want to look like a total tit when it doesn't happen. But I got an email about a month ago saying, do you want some one-to-one time with David Beckham? I replied saying, the most stupid question to ever ask me, of course I do, yes please. So I'm going to be going to some super fancy new hotel in London to sit down with David Beckham to chat about his new fragrance. I mean, yes please. David, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Congratulations on new fragrance.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is obviously, you've got a few fragrances out, but how important to you is it to have a signature fragrance?
I think it's important because it's been a part of the brand and part of me for many years. And to have another one out is difficult just because, coming up with a new concept, coming up with a new fragrance, coming up with something different enough, but also keeping to, what we've done over the last few years, because it's been working obviously over the last years, but, the relationship that we've all had, it's been special. So obviously that part of it is easy, but obviously finding the new packaging, finding the new scent, that's there's complications with that, but I think that, again, we're so happy and proud of what we've produced.
And this morning we sat down, we had a spray and we kind of got to make our own. What do you look for in a scent? Like, is there key things that you think?
I like very classic. The citrus side, there has to be that kind of fresh kind of feel about it, but also it has to be elegant and not overpowering, because it's one of the things that I always talk about. You don't want to smell someone before you see them. So it's kind of something that I've always said. It's very classic, and that's what I always look for. And like I said, definitely not overpowering.
And in terms of kind of like your routine of fragrance, hair, grooming, what do you do? Because I mean, you always look great. Is there key things you do?
I think, I try to keep it very simple. I'm not kind of, it doesn't take me like 2 hours to kind of, moisturize, shower in the morning, but moisturize is something that, I always go for. Eye cream, I think is important, morning and evenings. Wash regularly, obviously. And hydrate. Hydration is such a big part of the way you look, the way you feel. So yeah, that's my, not tips, but that's what I do.
And I suppose you're traveling so much, like, is there one product that you think that's got to be in my sort of travel bag?
I think the moisturiser is always one that, because you have to stay hydrated in many different ways, the amount of water that you drink, and things like that. But the moisturiser is something that I think is always in the bag.
Growing up, you were kind of like the idol of like how you looked in terms of style and grooming. A kind of term that you were kind of the poster boy of was like the metrosexual, of someone like looked after themselves. How do you think that, I suppose, that dynamic has changed for young guys now?
Well, I definitely think, people have always talked about me being part of that kind of transition with guys. But I think it's part of culture now. It wasn't 15 years ago. I think when I started first, getting that label, it was kind of, it wasn't the normal thing for people to talk about or say. But I think these days it's a lot more common, and people, and men specifically, look after themselves a lot more than they did 15 years ago. So I'm glad to have been a small part of that culture, and I'm still like it now.
Exactly. I mean, it's been a big part. I mean, I did a hair tutorial on one of your hairstyles like 4 years ago, and that's been massive. So obviously people are wanting that.
Yeah.
When you look back, I suppose, over the years, have there been key hairstyles or styles that you think, what was I thinking, or I want to go back to that?
I think there are moments when I definitely look back on where I think, you know, what was I thinking? But I think everyone does that in, you know, walks of life. You know, you look at pictures from 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it was great at the time. Personally, I always thought it was good at the time, but then when you look back at things, but I think that's the same for everyone. Everyone looks back at hairstyles and clothes and things like that and thinks, you know, what was I thinking? But I was happy with it at the time.
It's important to have those things too, to look back and see how you've evolved.
Yeah, of course.
For guys that kind of like look to you as this sort of the icon in terms of grooming and stuff, is there one piece of advice that you would give them?
I think to just, you know, it's all about being an individual. I think with fragrance, with looking after yourself, with, you know, hairstyle, with clothing, and with obviously the scent. It's about your individual preference and style, and I think that's what makes fashion, scent, music so great. You know, it's down to an individual person. So I think that you always have to feel comfortable. You know, I've always kind of felt comfortable in what I'm wearing, you know, whether it's a suit, whether it's jeans and t-shirt. It's something that I've always made sure that, you know, I don't make too much of an effort. I just kind of go out in what I feel comfortable and what I think smells great. So
and then you get this, just walk out and it just looks great instantly.
Thank you.
Do you have someone that, or when you were growing up, someone that you thought was like a style icon, someone that you kind of wanted to be more like or dress like?
When I was growing up, I don't think that I had that kind of vision of a person that I wanted to look like or dress like, because I was so focused on my sport. I was so focused on football at such a young age. It wasn't that important to me, even though, you know, my mum tells me stories about, which everyone's heard about, when I went to a wedding and I had the choice of a suit or knickerbockers and ballet slippers, and I went for the knickerbockers and ballet slippers. You know, things like that made me think that I was more interested than I realised. But back in the day, I didn't. You know, further on in my life, you know, Steve McQueen was a huge reference for me in many different ways. How cool he was, the bikes he rode, the way he looked, his hairstyles. And it was very natural, and I think he's the person that I've always kind of said, if I could be someone, it would be him.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for your time, and I know
You're
I've
welcome.
enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone at home watching this
Me
has
too. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
What a day! David Beckham, literally the nicest man in the world. Showbiz, sports, the world, fragrance. I mean, just so easy to chat to. Comes into the room, introduces himself to absolutely everyone there. You know, PRs, the crew, me, like, is just like, you don't get people like that. He is just amazing, so nice, and very easy to chat to, very open about things. So thank you, David. Also, thank you to you guys, because I get to do these sort of things. I've got to say, I got the only one-to-one interview, which for me was very humbling. So thank you guys for sticking with me. It's because of the stuff that we do together that I actually get these opportunities, so thank you. I'm going to note all the stuff about the fragrance down below. I know it's out now, so if you want to check it out, you'll see it in some shops, so give it a sniff. Give David a sniff. Hi, just beeping outside. Maybe it's David coming to pick me up. David, wait, I'll be out. We're just going to go out for drinks now. But thank you very much for watching. I'm a sweaty mess. I'm also exhausted after that. The adrenaline has gone to my head and my body. But I'm going to see you guys. When am I going to see you? I'll see you on Thursday. I'm going to see you on Thursday. I knew overhyped. If you're new to my channel, we're doing this right the wrong way, and you've not yet pressed subscribe, then press subscribe right now. It's gonna be a button right up there. There's also more video suggestions down there. Stay with me and watch them, or there's a link to my blog. You can check out what's there. See you Thursday. Overhyped. And just sleep. Bye-bye.